Don't stick to hearsay. Like, if I did, trust me, I wouldn't be here today. So she would go ahead and say, oh yeah, I know this person. And then honestly, I feel like it worked. People have been able to secure full funding by reaching out to the faculty members of their department. The mistake that people often do is they just like choose people to submit recommendation letters for them. I found a school that was willing to offer me a fully funded scholarship to study a program of my choice in the US. I'm trying to drink some water for the video that I'm about to record because I want my body to be calm and chill because it's very important. What I'm about to talk about is very important. So, but let me take one last sip. I think I'm good now. Yeah. So it's currently 4:22 p.m. I don't know if you guys can see my time. I just got back home and I thought to record this video. And the aim of today's video is to essentially share 3 pieces of advice about scholarships. So, if you're a prospective international student or you're an international student, grab your books, grab your pens, sit tight, and take notes of the valuable information I'm about to share because it might be helpful in the long run. But most importantly, don't forget, subscribe to my channel. I used to think getting a fully funded scholarship to study in the US was difficult, like how people made it seem. But surprisingly, it wasn't much of a hassle for me. And I saw a comment that said you're a blessed child. I mean, no two ways about that. But I still needed to put in the work for the blessings to manifest. Like, I didn't just get it on a silver platter. I still needed to put in the work, okay? So, let me tell you a short story. So, prior to starting this whole study abroad journey, I was having a conversation with a friend who was actually in the process of doing his. And I remember she vividly told me that there's no school in the US that'll be willing to offer me a fully funded scholarship to study abroad. And I'm not going to lie, I fell for it to some extent that when I was looking for schools, I wasn't even thinking of looking at the US. I was looking at Canada and then the European countries. And I have a video on my YouTube channel on how this whole process started. So I'll post the link to that in my description box so that you can go check it out. That's why I said subscribe so you don't miss out on all these valuable information. Now, one day, just in my thinking process, I thought to myself that I might as well give it a try because someone's bad experience doesn't mean that the same thing is going to happen to me. And if I try and it goes through, like, great. If it doesn't, I stand nothing to lose. I found a school that was willing to offer me a fully funded scholarship to study a program of my choice in the US. Like, I don't think you heard that. The school was actually willing to offer me a fully funded scholarship to study the program of my choice in the US. But remember, fully funded scholarship doesn't mean that you don't have bills to pay. Again, I have another video on my YouTube channel, which I'll post the link in the description box so you can watch and prepare yourself as a prospective international student. Circling back to my story, when I found the school, I put in my application, I did everything I was expected, I got admitted, and then now I'm here to tell you my story. The first thing I need to talk about when it comes to scholarship has to do with your documentations. Now, documentations, because every school requires specific documents when you're applying. You find a school you want to apply to, the first thing you need to look out for is the required documentation by the school. Now, this includes your writing sample, statement of purpose, personal statements, resume or CV, recommendation letters. The first thing you need to take into consideration is your statement of purpose. Find out the information that the school needs from you to include in your statement of purpose and what is expected to be in that particular document. Mind you, some schools don't conduct interviews. So your statement of purpose is what is going to tell your story. That is what is going to sell you. So sometimes people do not like work so much on SOPs, which is statements of purpose. But if you're not given the opportunity to do an interview, that documents that you're submitting is what is going to tell them whether you are a good fit for the program that you're applying to or not. Certain programs might not indicate whether you should submit a writing sample or other documents. But if you're applying to a program like communication studies, marketing, public relations, graphic design, you know you're going to be doing some writing, at least I know for the communication programs. So even if the school did not ask you to submit one, go ahead and submit because that is what I did. The school I applied to did not ask me to submit a writing sample, but the program I was applying for, which was a communication studies, requires that I'll do some writing. So I went ahead and I added my writing sample. No, still on documentations, I want to talk about recommendation letters. The mistake that people often do is they just like choose people to submit recommendation letters for them. But my personal advice is when you have the chance to select people to submit recommendation letters on your behalf, okay, look for people in your academic or professional experience where you had a good relationship with. All this to say that they will be able to put in a very good recommendation letter for you, because they are not only going to speak on your professional or academic experience, but then they also talk based on the good and cordial relationship you had with them, the time that you were either working with them or you were like in school with them. Before I move on to anything else, I want to emphasize on the documentations, because it is the documents that you submit that will tell a story about you. So, as much as possible, make that conscious effort to get the necessary information that the school requires of you to submit in terms of your document. Put that together. Make sure it is well detailed, straight to the point, has every bit of information about you as an individual. Because if you're not given the chance to do a virtual interview or an in-person interview, that document that you're going to submit is what is going to tell them whether you are a good candidate for the program or not. The thing I want to talk about is research, which I think should have been the first thing. When you find a school that you want to apply to, the first thing you need to do is to research and know whether they offer scholarships in the first place to international students in general or to the specific program that you're applying to. Now, in your research, you would know whether you'd have to submit a different application from what you submit in order to qualify for some form of funding. And you would also be able to know whether you need to write GRE, GMAT, or any of these English proficiency exams in order to qualify for a fully funded scholarship or some form of funding. Oftentimes, the mistake that people do is they just like find their school, and then when they find the program that they have, they just go ahead and apply without researching to know these kind of information. So sometimes when you get admitted into the program and then they tell you they don't offer any form of scholarship, then you become stranded. But you can avoid all of these things by making the necessary inquiries and then finding out whether they offer a scholarship before you go ahead and put in your application. So, moving on from research, the next thing, and which might be the last thing I want to talk about, is communication. Okay, that's why I'm standing, like, because it's very important. Because I was feeling too comfortable in the chair, so I decided to stand so that you see the importance of what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to use myself as an example in this situation. So, in the process of doing my whole school applications, I reached out to the graduate chair of my program via email. I introduced myself. I made her know I was very much interested in being a part of the incoming cohort. I'm applying to the program. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. And then I was asking her questions. I was asking questions that I know very well that the answers were on the department's website, but I still went ahead to ask her those questions. Why was I doing this? It was because I wanted my name to like literally get stuck in her mind so that when she goes to the admissions committee and then my application is put before her, like she would even think twice. From the email exchange, she would go ahead and say, "Oh yeah, I know this person." And then honestly, I feel like it worked, because at the end of the day, when I arrived in the US and then I went to see her, she was able to make me out by just mentioning my name. I'm saying communication just so you know that it's not all about like applications or applying for funding outside your department that can give you a full funding. People have been able to secure full funding by reaching out to the faculty members of their department. How is this done? Very simple. Now, when you find a school that you want to apply to, okay, and then you find the program, in your research process, look out for faculty members who are currently either working or doing some form of research in your area of interest. And once you do that, reach out to the person, introduce yourself. But before you even do that, like emphasis on research about them, see some projects or presentations that they've done, awards that they've won, and then reach out to them, let them know like this is who you are, this is your area of interest, you came across their profile and you appreciate the work that they've done, and so you'd like to know if there's any students they are currently working with. If not, you'd love for them to work with you on your research, which is in this, that, and you let them know how much of an impact they will make if they work with you on this particular research or project, and how beneficial it's going to be to you in the long run and in your field of study. People have been able to secure fully funded scholarships from this. So sometimes when you apply to a program and then they give you admission without funding, it doesn't mean like that's the end of the road. Like, reach out to some of these people. They might be your saving grace. Like, they might even go the extra mile of making sure that they secure funding for you just because of how you establish that communication and relationship with them, to be able to have you come study your dream program in the US. So, just to reiterate everything that I spoke about concerning scholarships, like I said, today's video was just to share 3 pieces of advice about scholarships. And the first thing is making sure you have the right documentations. Next thing is research, which I think should have been the first thing. And then the last thing has to do with communication. Reach out to that faculty member now. You never know. That person might be the one to get you your fully funded scholarship to study that program of your choice. And also, don't stick to hearsay. Like, if I did, trust me, I wouldn't be here today. So, one person's experience doesn't mean that the same thing is also going to happen to you. So, make that move now. And let me know in the comment section how you were able to secure your scholarship. Did you have to go through an interview? Did you have to do a different application outside your normal school application process? Or did your funding come with your admission just like it did for me as well? But I'll be on it always, always.